You're standing in a dimly lit cave, the air thick with silence and the weight of ancient time. The walls are alive with color, with figures that seem to shift in the flickering light of your torch. These images, drawn thousands of years ago, aren't just art. They are the first known attempts to tell stories, to remember, to create meaning from the chaos of existence. What were they trying to capture? A hunt? A ritual? A moment that would outlive the people who made it? These paintings are more than marks on stone. They are the first pages of human memory. We don't know the names of the artists, nor the words they spoke. But through these images, we can glimpse the earliest form of storytelling, how humans began to remember, to create, and to connect across time. So what exactly are we talking about? We're not just looking at ancient art. We're looking at the earliest attempts by humans to record, to remember, to tell stories. These cave paintings are not random. They are deliberate, structured, and layered with meaning. These images don't just depict animals. They depict movement, action, and time. A bison is not just a bison. It's running, breathing, caught in the moment. This is the first step towards storytelling, the first echo of narrative memory in human history. These paintings are not static. They are part of a ritual, a performance. The act of painting, of drawing, of engraving, these were not just creative acts. They were mnemonic devices, ways to preserve knowledge and pass it on through generations. This is where memory becomes history. The cave paintings are the first archives. They are the first time humans tried to make sense of their world, to record their experiences, and to imagine a future beyond the present. So what we're looking at isn't just art. It's the birth of a way of thinking, narrative memory, a way of seeing the world not just as it is, but as it can be told. These ancient marks are not just art. They are the first attempts to remember, to preserve, to tell a story that might otherwise be lost to time. To create these images is to wrestle with the fundamental human need to make sense of the world, to give meaning to the chaos of existence. In every line and curve, there is a whisper of a story, a moment captured, a memory etched into stone, a bridge between the past and the present. You may not know it, but every story you've ever heard, every narrative you've ever told, begins with this kind of silent, desperate act of remembering. This is not just about the past. It's about you, about what it means to be human, to remember, to tell, to imagine. We begin in the shadows of the Chauvet cave, where the flicker of torchlight reveals a world untouched by time. These images, etched into stone, are not just art. They are the first flickers of memory, preserved in pigment and pigment alone. As we move through millennia, the images evolve. No longer are they mere representations. They start to tell stories of hunts, of rituals, of the human struggle to make sense of a chaotic world. The shift from static images to layered narratives is a quiet revolution. These early artists were not just depicting reality. They were encoding memory, creating a bridge between the past and the present. This is the birth of narrative memory. Not written words, but the first attempt to preserve thought, to share experience across time and space. The cave becomes a stage, and the wall a canvas for human storytelling. From these early efforts, we trace a lineage, through oral traditions, through symbols, through the written word. The cave paintings are not just relics. They are the roots of every story we tell today. Imagine you're in a dark cave, and all of a sudden, you see something on the wall. It's not just a picture. It's a story. A long time ago, people used these drawings to remember their world, their history, and their dreams. These paintings weren't just art. They were a way to keep track of who they were, what they saw, and what they hoped for. It's like telling a story without words. When you look at these images, you're not just seeing a picture, you're seeing a memory made real. They were trying to hold on to the past so they could move forward with hope. These ancient artists were building something powerful. They were creating a shared language of memory, a way to pass down their experiences, their fears, and their stories through time. So when you see these cave paintings, you're not just looking at art. You're looking at the first storytellers, the first historians, the first people who wanted to remember and share their world. The first step in this process is the setup. The artist must choose a location where the story will be told, a place that feels significant, a space that holds meaning in the context of the group's life. This is not just a blank wall. It is a stage, a canvas, a sacred ground. The artist may have already marked the space with gestures or signs, preparing the ground for the narrative to unfold. This moment is not just about the artist. It is about the community, the shared understanding, the collective memory that is about to be inscribed into stone or pigment. The setup is a silent agreement, a quiet pact between the artist and the group. It is the beginning of a dialogue that will last across generations, etched in color and form. The second step in this process is the formation of the narrative through memory. When early humans created these images, they weren't just marking space, they were embedding a story within it. Each figure, each line, carries a meaning that is only understood through the shared experiences of the group. Memory becomes the bridge between past and present, between individual and collective. By embedding meaning in these images, early humans created a shared language of memory, one that transcended the immediate and connected them to a deeper, collective past. This mechanism of encoding memory into form was the first step toward the birth of narrative. It allowed humans to not only remember, but to reconstruct, to reinterpret, and to pass down their stories across generations. The twist lies in the way these early humans did not just depict events, but encoded meaning through repetition and abstraction. They did not merely draw what they saw, but what they remembered, and what they hoped to remember. This repetition is not accidental. It is a signal. It is the early form of a mnemonic device, a way to anchor memory in the physical world. The more something is drawn, the more it is remembered. These images were not static records. They were part of a dynamic process of remembering and storytelling. Each time the community returned to the cave, they were not just viewing art, but engaging in a collective act of recollection. The twist is that the cave paintings are not just representations of the past. They are a blueprint for the future, a way to shape memory through imagination. They are the first attempt to create a shared cultural narrative. In this way, the cave paintings are not just the beginning of art, but the beginning of a way of thinking. Narrative memory, the ability to remember through story, to pass on meaning across time and space. Beneath the surface of these ancient marks lies a science of memory, a biological and cognitive blueprint that binds us to our past. Our brains evolved to store and retrieve events, not just facts. These images are not just art. They are the first attempts at encoding experience into something that can outlive the moment. They are the first sentence of a universal language. Neuroscience now tells us that memory is not a recording, but a reconstruction, a dynamic process shaped by emotion, context, and repetition. Cave paintings may have been a way to rehearse and solidify those reconstructions. The repetition of figures, the use of gesture, the layering of images, all of this suggests a form of cognitive mapping, a way of organizing experience into something that can be shared and passed on. We are standing at the crossroads of biology and culture, where memory is both a biological necessity and a cultural innovation. These walls are not just walls. They are the first pages of the human story. Imagine a child trying to explain a complex story to a confused adult. Their words are simple, their tone earnest, yet their meaning is clear. This is the essence of narrative memory in its earliest form. The cave paintings are not just images. They are the child's dream. the adults struggle to understand. They are the first stories, told without words, yet rich with meaning. To the ancient mind, these symbols were not just decoration. They were memory, a way to hold on to the fleeting moments of experience, to give them form and permanence. We are not so different from those early humans. Our own memories, our own stories, are painted on the walls of our minds, waiting for someone to see them. In the end, the cave paintings are not just relics of the past. They are a mirror, reflecting our own struggle to remember, to tell, to make sense of the world. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. In the quiet of a forgotten archive, where dust dances in the dim light, memory was once an oral art, passed from voice to ear, shaped by the rhythm of speech and the weight of silence. Before the ink met the page, stories were carried in the mind like fragile relics, their survival depended on the memory of the listener and the precision of the teller. Language was not just a vessel for memory. It was its architect, forging the contours of what we could retain, what we could forget, and what we could never lose. To write was to give memory a home, a place where it could rest, be called upon, and endure beyond the fleeting breath of a single voice. The written word did not just preserve memory, it transformed it, reshaping the way we think, feel, and remember ourselves. We're talking about the profound relationship between language and memory. The way we write, the way we speak, shapes not just how we recall the past, but how we define our own identity. Language isn't just a tool for communication. It's a framework for thought. To write is to impose structure on experience, to mold the fluidity of memory into something fixed and tangible. But memory isn't just preserved by writing. It's also transformed. Language allows us to reinterpret the past, to layer meaning over time, and to find new truths in old words. So when we talk about the written word, we're not just talking about letters on a page. We're talking about the act of remembering, the shaping of truth, and the quiet power of language to hold time in its grip. You may think memory is a personal, intimate thing, something that lives in your mind like a private archive. But consider this. Every word you've ever read, every sentence you've ever heard, has shaped how you remember the world. Language is not just a tool for communication. It is the scaffolding upon which we build our thoughts, and our thoughts shape the way we recall and interpret the past. Every time you read or write, you are not just absorbing information. You are encoding memory. The words you choose, the structure you impose, the meaning you assign, these all become the blueprint of your mind's archive. To understand memory is to understand how language has been shaping the way we hold on to the past and how we've used it to construct the present. And so, you should care about this, not because it's dramatic or poetic, but because it is fundamental. Every word you've ever known has quietly and deeply altered the way you remember yourself and the world. The earliest inscriptions were not meant to preserve memory, but to carve it into stone. Cuneiform tablets from Mesopotamia, with their wedge-shaped symbols, were the first attempt to capture the ephemeral in something permanent. In ancient Egypt, hieroglyphs adorned temple walls, not just as art, but as a system of remembrance. They were meant to outlast time, to speak to the gods and the afterlife, as much as to the living. The Greeks took a different path. They believed that words could shape not only memory, but also thought itself. Writing became a tool for philosophy, for recording the ideas of Socrates and Plato, preserving the voice of the past. Then came the Codex, a shift from scrolls to bound volumes. This physical transformation mirrored the intellectual shift toward structured knowledge, where ideas could be organized, cross-referenced, and passed down more reliably. With the printing press, knowledge exploded into the public sphere. Gutenberg's invention wasn't just about mass production. It was about making memory accessible to all, not just the elite, and thus changing the very nature of human thought. Imagine if you had to remember everything you ever learned, without any help. you'd forget half of it by dinner. But now, you can write it down. That way, your mind is free to think about new things, not just remember old ones. It's not just about remembering. It's about building something that lives on long after you're gone. Writing is like planting a seed. You don't just remember it. You grow something from it. And that's why words are more than just sounds. They're bridges between your mind and the world. Before a word is written, it exists as a thought, a whisper in the mind, an echo of memory. It is not yet fixed, but carried by breath and intent. It is the first spark of a memory that will be shaped into something lasting. This thought is fragile, like a candle in the wind. It can fade, can be lost, can be mistaken. But if it is captured, if it is given form, it becomes more than a fleeting sensation. It becomes a vessel for memory. This initial mark is a threshold. It is the first step in a journey that will take memory from the ephemeral to the enduring. It is the beginning of a record that will outlive the moment it was born from. In this first step, the written word becomes more than a symbol. It becomes a promise that what was once fleeting will now have a place in the world, a place in history, a place in memory. The first step is inscription, but the second is internalization. Once words are etched into the mind, they become the scaffolding of memory, shaping how we perceive, store, and recall experiences. This internalization is not passive. It is a process of cognitive rehearsal, where the mind rehearses and reconfigures the structure of language to align with the structure of memory. Language, then, is not just a tool for remembering. It is the very framework within which memory is built, maintained, and reinterpreted. This mechanism is not only about preserving the past, but also about shaping the present, and even influencing the possibilities of the future. The clever twist lies in how language does not just record memory. It actively shapes it, filtering and framing what we remember as we speak it into existence. Every time we speak, we are not merely recalling the past, but reconstructing it, layering meaning and context onto what we once knew, now made new again through the act of expression. This is why the written word is not just a tool for remembering. It is a form of memory itself, a way of giving permanence to what we might otherwise forget. In this way, language does not just preserve memory, it creates it, shaping how we think, how we feel, and how we come to know what we once knew. Beneath the surface of language lies a biological rhythm, a neural pulse that translates thought into ink. Our brains are not just vessels for memory, but architects of it, encoding fragments of the past into symbols that outlive us. Neuroscience reveals that when we write, we activate multiple regions of the brain, motor, visual, and linguistic, simultaneously. This triple stimulation strengthens memory, forging deeper neural pathways. Language, in its written form, is a kind of neural map, etched into the mind as much as the page. It is both a record and a reconfiguration, a way of holding memory in a shape that can be passed from one mind to another. This science hums beneath our words, an invisible current that connects us across time and space. In every letter we write, we are not just recording memory, we are shaping it, preserving it, and passing it on. Imagine a brain like a library, where each memory is a book, and language is the system that organizes and retrieves them. The more precise the system, the more efficiently we can recall. But sometimes it's the clumsiness of that system that reveals the most about how we remember. This library is not built by hand, but by thought. By the act of writing itself. Each word we put on paper becomes a marker, a way to fix a moment in time, to make it something that can be found again, not just felt. In this way, writing becomes a kind of memory muscle. Not one that we flex to remember better, but one that we flex to remember it all. It's the difference between feeling something and being able to say it, and the power of that difference is profound. So, the written word is not just a tool for recording memory. It is the very mechanism by which memory is formed, preserved, and passed down. It is the bridge between the ephemeral and the eternal. And in this, we find the beauty of being human. Not just the ability to remember, but the desire to make meaning from what we remember. Writing is our way of holding on, and language is our way of letting go. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You've probably wondered how your mind holds on to memories, like a library, but with no catalog, no shelves, just the quiet hum of something ancient and strange. Sometimes it feels like your memories are just sitting there, waiting. Like books that you've read 1,000 times but never quite remember the words of. And yet, when you search for a memory, it feels like it's right there, just out of reach, like a book you've read once but can't recall the plot. It's not just about remembering. It's about how your mind chooses what to keep, what to let go, and what to leave for another day. This is the mind as a library, a place of quiet power where every memory is a book, and every moment is a page waiting to be written. So what exactly are we talking about? It's not just about recalling facts or names. It's about the fragile, shifting architecture of memory itself. We're peering into the mind's library, where every shelf is a moment, and every book is a story we've lived. Memory isn't a perfect archive. It's more like a reconstruction, a patchwork of sensations, emotions, and fragments. Sometimes we remember the feeling of a place more than the place itself, or the sound of a voice more than the words spoken. We think of memory as a record, but it's really a process. Every time we recall something, we're not just retrieving. It's as if we're rewriting, reshaping, and reinterpreting the past through the lens of the present. This isn't just about remembering. It's about identity. Our past shapes who we are, but how we remember it is what defines how we see ourselves. And that's why memory is so fragile, so easily distorted. So what we're really talking about is more than just remembering. It's about the human condition, how we hold on to the past, how we make sense of it, and how we carry it forward, often without realizing it. You've spent your life building a library. Every memory, every thought, every moment. But what if you've been forgetting the most important books? What if the stories you once believed were true are now just dust on the shelves? You think you remember the past, but you're only remembering fragments. The details blur, the edges soften, and the truth becomes a mosaic of guesswork and emotion. It's not just about what you remember. It's about what you believe you remember. The mind is not a faithful recorder. It's a storyteller, and the stories it tells shape who you are. If you don't care about remembering, you're letting the past fade into silence and letting the future be written by ghosts. You might not realize it, but you are already carrying the weight of your own forgotten memories. You're making choices based on what you believe you remember. And if you're wrong, you're living a life built on a shaky foundation. This is why you should care. Not just about remembering, but about understanding how the mind works. Because the past isn't just gone. It's still shaping you, whether you realize it or not. You don't have to remember everything, but you do have to remember that the mind is not a passive vessel. It's an active architect. And if you want to understand yourself, you must first understand how it builds its stories. The mind as a library is more than a metaphor. It's a truth that lies in the quiet corners of your thoughts. And if you let it fade, you risk losing more than memories. You risk losing yourself. We start in the dim light of an ancient library, where scrolls are carefully unrolled and ink is pressed into parchment. The air is thick with the scent of old paper and the weight of forgotten knowledge. Centuries pass and memory becomes more than just writing. It is carved into stone, etched into memory, and passed down like a torch through generations of storytellers. With the invention of the printing press, memory spreads like wildfire. Books are no longer rare, but the mind is still the first keeper of all knowledge. In the 20th century, memory becomes a battlefield. Science begins to dissect it, and we learn that memory is not a vault, but a fragile, ever-changing web of stories. Now, in the digital age, memory is both expanded and lost. We have more information than ever, yet the act of remembering is becoming a skill we no longer practice. Imagine your brain as a big, cozy library full of books, but instead of stories, these books are memories, and they're all mixed up together. You can't just pick up a book and read it again. Sometimes you have to look really hard, or maybe even close your eyes and think really hard. You don't remember everything, and that's okay. Some memories are like books that you just never found. That doesn't mean they weren't there. Sometimes you remember more than you think you do. You just have to stop looking for the book and let the memory find you. So when you try to remember, don't think of it as searching for a book. Think of it as waiting for the right moment to hear a story you already know. We begin in the quiet of a room, where the mind is prepared for the act of remembering. The brain, like a librarian, is setting the stage for a search through its vast and silent shelves. Before the mind can recall, it must be made aware of what it is looking for. This awareness is the spark that ignites the search, the first thought that nudges the memory into motion. This internal mapping is guided by context, emotion, and time. It is a dance of cues, where the mind searches not just for words, but for the feeling and meaning behind them. The setup is not just about the mind's readiness, but about the world around it. The environment, the silence, the stillness, all play a role in the act of remembering. And so, with the mind prepared and the world still, the search begins. The first step is not just to remember, but to be ready for the journey that follows. The first step is the signal, but the second is the story. When the brain receives a trigger, it doesn't just recall, it reconstructs. Like a detective piecing together a puzzle, it scours memory for fragments of meaning. Each memory is not a single image, but a collection of sensations. A smell, a sound, a feeling, all stitched together by the mind's narrative. It's not just remembering, it's reimagining. This process is fragile, and it's why memories can fade or distort. The mind tries to make sense of the past, but it can also misinterpret it. The story it tells is shaped by what it believes to be true. And so, memory becomes more than just recall. It becomes interpretation. The mind does not simply remember, it makes meaning, and in that making, it shapes who we are. The mind's library isn't just a place of storage, it's a place of meaning. Every memory isn't just a file, but a story, a thread in the tapestry of who we are. The clever twist is that the mind doesn't just store information, it rewrites it. Every time we recall something, we are reshaping the memory, like a sculptor chiseling away at stone. We believe in the authenticity of our memories, but in truth, they are more like reflections in a pond, ever-changing, sometimes distorted, and never quite the same as the thing itself. This is why remembering is not just about the past. It's about how we see ourselves, how we make sense of the world, and how we choose to carry the weight of what we learned. To remember is to carry the past with us, not as a burden, but as a guide. And in that, we find the mind's greatest wonder, its ability to shape meaning from the chaos of experience. There is a rhythm to memory, a quiet hum beneath the surface of thought. It's not just the mind recalling, it's the brain replaying, reorganizing, reshaping the past into something the present can hold. This is the science of memory, not just storing, but sorting and in some cases, discarding. The brain is a selective archivist, choosing what to keep and what to let fade. It's in the neural pathways, those silent highways where thoughts travel. Each memory is a path, and with use, it becomes a road. Without use, it becomes a shadow, forgotten in the quiet corners of the mind. But even in the most vivid recollections, the mind is not a perfect mirror. It edits, it interprets, it fills in the gaps. The past is never the same as it was. It's only what the mind remembers it to be. And so, memory is not just a record of the past. It is the mind's way of making sense of itself. It is the science of how we remember, and how we live with what we remember. I think of memory as a library, but not one you can walk through. It's a library that's always changing, with books that vanish, rearrange, or rewrite themselves in the middle of the night. You can't just browse it like a shelf of novels. You have to whisper a title, and sometimes the book appears, sometimes it's gone, and sometimes it's just a blank page you can't read. The mind is not a librarian. It's a kid in a library, poking at the books, sometimes leaving them open, sometimes slamming them shut, and sometimes forgetting which ones were ever there. You can catalog every memory. Some are too small, too loud, too messy to fit into any system. They just live in the dark, waiting for the right light to flicker. And in the end, the library is not about accuracy. It's about feeling. It's about the echo of a story, the scent of a page, the weight of a forgotten book in your hands. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. I've always thought about what happens to us after we're gone. Not just our bodies, but our thoughts, our stories, the way we made others feel. What if we could leave something behind, something more than just bones in the ground? Now, people are talking about storing memories in the cloud. Not just photos or videos, but the essence of who we were. It's not just data, it's identity, it's legacy. It's a kind of immortality that feels strange, even unsettling. The idea of leaving a digital imprint, something that outlives us, is both thrilling and terrifying. It's like stepping into a future where our minds are uploaded, where our emotions are stored, and where we might still be, somewhere in the cloud. But what does it mean to be remembered in a way that's not human? What happens when the lines between who we are and what we leave behind blur? We're not just storing memories. We're rewriting what it means to live, to love, to be forgotten. And so, the question lingers. Are we preparing for a kind of immortality that feels more like a simulation than a soul? Or are we finally learning how to leave something behind that truly matters, something that lives on in the hearts of those who loved us? We're talking about more than just saving photos or videos. We're talking about preserving the essence of who we are. Our thoughts, our feelings, even the way we remember things. It's not just data, it's identity, distilled. Imagine being able to walk through your life like a museum of the mind. Each moment stored, each emotion archived, each voice preserved. It's not just about what you remember, but how you remember it. This isn't just about legacy. It's about how we define ourselves in an age where memory is no longer just a function of the brain, but of the machine. We're evolving into something both human and digital. It's a question of consciousness, of continuity, of what it means to be alive beyond the flesh. Are we becoming something new, or just redefining what it means to be human? And yet, the most profound part of this is not the technology, but the silence it leaves behind. What happens when the cloud is full, but the heart is empty? You might think your memories are just your own, but they're shaped by the world around you. What if that world one day forgets you? What if your story gets lost in the noise of 1,000 others? We're already outsourcing our memory to machines, from smartphones to social media. But what happens when we outsource too much? When the machines remember and we forget? When we lose someone, we carry their memory in our minds. But what if we could carry it in the cloud? What if we could keep them with us? Not just in stories, but in data. This isn't about uploading your soul. It's about preserving what makes you human. Your voice, your words, your choices. And that's something worth protecting. In the end, we're all just stories. And if we're not careful, our stories might not be told. So maybe, just maybe, you should care about this. Not because of the future, but because of the past. We begin in the 1980s, when personal computers emerged as more than tools. They became the first vessels for preserving memory. People began storing photographs, letters, and even voice recordings in these new machines, as if they were trying to freeze time in silicon. As the decades rolled on, storage capacity grew, but so did the complexity of what we wanted to keep. The cloud wasn't just a place to store data. It became a kind of archive of the self, a way to outlive the body through the persistence of memory. Today, the technology has reached a point where the boundary between memory and identity is almost indistinguishable. We are no longer just recording our lives. We are encoding our very being into the cloud, hoping it will outlive us. But as we move forward, we must ask, what does it mean to live forever in a digital form? Is it an extension of life, or a new kind of immortality that strips us of the very thing that makes us human? Our impermanence. The future of memory in the cloud is not just about storage. It's about legacy, identity, and the ethical questions we must face as we try to preserve what makes us human. Imagine your memories are like little stars, and instead of being stuck in your brain, they float up into the sky. You can look at them anytime, even when you're not here. You don't have to forget the things you love, your laugh, your smile, the way you held your dog's paw. Those things can live on, just like the stars. It's like a little part of you stays with the people you love. They can hold on to you, even when you're not around. So maybe, in the end, we're not just people who live and die. We're stories that live on, and the world keeps reading them. The journey begins with a choice. You open a secure digital vault, a space designed not just for storage, but for preservation. It's more than a folder. It's a promise to the future. You begin by uploading your data. Photos, videos, documents, and even voice recordings. It's not just about what you have, but what you want to remember and pass on. You then set the access rules. Who can view, edit, or inherit these memories? This is where the idea of legacy takes form, deciding who will carry your story forward. Finally, you confirm and send. It's a moment of quiet gravity, a step into the unknown. You are not just uploading data, you are entrusting your past to a future you may never see. Once the data is captured, it's transformed into a digital file, stripped of its human context, reduced to a series of ones and zeros. This file is then encrypted and stored in a vast server farm, where it sits among millions of other memories, waiting to be accessed or forgotten. The process is silent, precise, and invisible, a digital echo of a person, preserved in a space that never decays or fades. But in this cold, mechanical space, the warmth of the human experience is lost, replaced by the cold certainty of data. It's a paradox. We are both preserved and erased, remembered and forgotten, by a system that does not weep or grieve. The twist isn't just storing data. It's capturing the essence of a person, the intangible parts that make them unique. It's about translating memory into something that can be preserved, not just recorded. Some systems use AI to analyze patterns in speech, voice, and even facial expressions, building a model of who the person was. It's like creating a digital fingerprint of their presence. It's not just about preserving what was said, but what was felt. The system learns the emotional weight of words, the unspoken meanings, the pauses that carry more than silence. The final step is not just storing a person's words or images, but simulating their presence in a way that feels real, even if it's only a version of them, created from fragments of their life. This is the clever twist, turning memory into something more than a collection of data. It's about making the past feel alive again, even if only in a new form. Beneath the surface of every cloud storage server lies a web of silicon and light, a vast, silent archive where consciousness is being coded into binary. This isn't just data. It's the architecture of memory itself. Scientists are now experimenting with neural interfaces, mapping the brain's intricate web of synapses with unprecedented precision. They're not just storing memories. They're trying to preserve the shape of thought. But there's a profound challenge. The human mind is not just information. It's a process, a dynamic flow of meaning and context. Can a machine truly understand what it is storing? Or is it merely replicating a shadow of the real? Some say the future is already here. That the cloud is not just a place to store data, but a mirror to the soul. A space where our thoughts, our stories, our very essence can live on, untouched by time. Yet, even as we build the tools, we must ask, what does it mean to live forever? And who gets to decide what is worth remembering and what is forgotten? Imagine your brain is a library, and your memories are the books inside. But instead of paper, they're stored in bits and bytes, like digital ink on a screen. The library is vast, but it's not yours. It's in the cloud. You can access your books from anywhere, but you can't touch them. They're fragile, and if the system crashes, they might vanish. Still, you keep coming back, hoping they're still there. It's not the same as holding a book in your hands, but it's close enough to make you wonder, if your memories are just data, are you still you? Or are you just a collection of stored moments? In the end, it's not about the technology. It's about the story you want to keep. Whether it's in paper, pixels, or your mind, the question is, who gets to remember you? Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.